Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar hosted by the Villanova University Alumni Association in conjunction with the Career Center. I am your webinar presenter today, Kevin Grubb. I am joined by Emily Poweroznik, our host for today and worker in the Alumni Association at Villanova. Thank you so much for joining us for about the next hour. I did want to give you just a quick note. There is a chat box that you should see on the right side of your screen below the attendees box. There you can ask your questions and chat throughout the presentation. This will be interactive. We'll have 3 polls go up we'll ask you to vote on, and one opportunity for you to just share some feedback about a specific question I'll be asking. So be ready to chat in that box if you feel inclined, and vote in the poll if you feel inclined to. Emily can answer some of your questions if you have any difficulties, but just make sure to turn up the volume on your speakers, and we will make sure that we get started. Okay, so I just wanted to take a quick minute to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Grubb, and I'm one of the assistant directors in the Career Center at Villanova. Throughout my tenure at the university, I've developed a specialty working on things related to careers and social media. And one of the best ways to get to know me is through, of course, my LinkedIn profile. So this is a screenshot from just the top part of it here to get to know me there. You can learn more about me via that, and of course, any other social networks that you're on yourself. And I look forward to talking with you about all of your questions, and specifically talking with you about Facebook and some of the new tools for that, as well as LinkedIn, ways you can use that to maximize your career. So here's some of what we'll cover today on some of these tips: some facts about social media specifically related to the job search, and facts about Facebook and LinkedIn specifically. We'll talk about the career-related updates to Facebook that they've made recently, and communicating about yourself and searching on LinkedIn for others and for companies so that you can maximize that network as well. And at the end, we'll have time for your questions. So if you have any, you can feel free to ask them throughout the webinar. We can save them for the end. And of course, we'll have the formal Q&A time as things conclude from the content of the webinar too. So I wanted to start off by talking about this idea of personal brand that many people in the career space have been discussing as of late. It's this idea that now that, especially since we have social media as a way to communicate with others and communicate about ourselves, each person has become, in a sense, their own brand. What you're seeing here are 3 circles that intersect, and many of the items within each of the circles contribute to your brand. The things that you say about yourself, the things that you do, the things that you're passionate about, your strengths, all of these things contribute to your brand. And what's important to consider about this is, as many organizations have always known, your brand is something that's interpretable by other people. So as other people experience the things about you and have experiences with you and hear you speak or see you say something on social networks, they've started to interpret a little bit about you and get their own impression of you as you've started to communicate it. So as a brief exercise to help you understand a little bit more about this topic, I wanted to ask you, what are some words that come to your mind when you see the Apple logo or hear Apple? The word Apple as a company, not as a fruit product. So if you want to take some time and actually pop in some words that come to your mind in the chat box about Apple, we'll take a moment to just get your feedback and see what words you're saying. So Joe just typed in innovative. I think many would agree, and a lot of people say innovative because they've experienced Apple's innovation in terms of product, in terms of technology, things coming out very often from Apple that lead in that space. Sandy said simple. Very much agree and hear that feedback also from people when I ask this question. Apple is very simple in terms of its design and its product, trying to make it very easy to use and enjoyable to use for people. Kate says, marketing machine, parentheses, meant as a compliment. Yes, Apple does a very good job raising awareness about itself to other people. I'm interpreting what you're saying, Kate, as thinking that and certainly a lot of people know the Apple brand across the country and across the world. So yes, much about Apple is in its marketing too. Just waiting to see if anybody else wanted to chime in. Okay. Well, thank you for those of you that did share. These are a few words that have come to my mind and have come to others' minds as I've asked this question of students on campus and people through webinars like this. And specifically, I'm relating this back to Sandy's word of simple. The word design also comes to mind for me. Apple takes great care in designing its products and thinking about the design of its products for its users, so how it looks, feels, and all the senses engaged. So these are words that, because we've experienced Apple products or we've seen things about Apple, we've watched the way Apple communicates things about itself, we've been able to interpret as Apple's brand. And so the question now is, as we're thinking about you being able to communicate things about yourself on social media, and of course in person and everywhere, is what about you? What are the words and phrases that people would associate with you? People often have said about job searching and careers, it's who you know. And I think to some degree that that's true still today. But now it's not only just who you know, but it's who you know and what those people know about you, so that they can act upon that information and help you get to the next stage in your career. And so using social media, you can get a lot of people to know some things about you and know some specific things about you that could be helpful for you. So I want to give a little bit of some fast facts here about Facebook and LinkedIn before we get into each of the networks. And we're going to start with a quick pop quiz related to Facebook. So Emily's going to pull up the poll. So the question is, how many Facebook accounts exist? You should be able to see the poll pop up on your screen now, and if you want to vote, that would be great. There's been a lot of talk about Facebook being the world's largest social network, and that is certainly true. So we're polling you to see how much you know about Facebook itself. I think we have almost all the votes coming in. Okay, so we are going to close out the poll. Oh, we just got another vote. I think someone switched their vote, which is great. At the last second, get it in there. So we'll end the poll. Majority of you indicated that you thought 1 billion plus was the number of Facebook accounts that exist. Some voted 500 million to 750 million, and then the range in between. The correct answer, most of you can take a chance to pat yourself on the back here, is over 1 billion Facebook accounts exist. The last time I actually saw a statistic on this, it was 1.2 billion. So Facebook itself growing exponentially. Sandy says 1.3 billion. Yes, thank you for the update, Sandy. More than 1 billion users are on Facebook right now. So certainly it's a very, very large network, and I think that really means there's a lot of capacity to use this as a great way to network and connect with people. A little bit about who's using LinkedIn at this point. There are over 250 million professionals internationally who are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn bills itself as the world's largest professional social network, since the updates and profiles on LinkedIn are truly professional. The last statistic I saw on LinkedIn was 259 million are on LinkedIn. There are over 150 industries represented by the membership of LinkedIn, which is saying quite a bit. So almost no matter what industry you're thinking about going into or you're in right now, there's representation of that on LinkedIn itself. There are 3 million and counting companies that are using LinkedIn's company pages. Much like you may see on Facebook or on Twitter, or on Instagram, or any social network, organizations can have pages that you can like or follow. It's very similar on LinkedIn. Companies have pages for themselves where they're posting updates and actually posting job opportunities in many cases. And I'll show you some screenshots of things on company pages that might be beneficial for you. And one of the most important statistics and facts about LinkedIn is that there are more than 75,000 Villanovans using this network right now. And I'll show you a way that you can actually access this information and then start to search for some Villanovans who could be helpful people for you to start expanding your network to. So I want to talk just briefly before we get into some of these tips about why social media itself matters. It's been studied and reported and talked about over and over again that networking truly is the most effective way to land a job. It's often, again, through these people that you know and connections that you make. And social media, at the heart of it, really is networking. It's connections with others that you know or are getting to know, and starting to get to know those people better, sharing ideas and information with them can help you and help them at the same time in terms of your careers. There was a survey also done by the Society of Human Resources Managers recently and all these people are involved in the hiring process. And 77% of them, there are about 3,000 surveyed, said that they use social media as a part of their process to hire. And in many cases, they're using it as a way to recruit what would be called passive candidates, people that might not be searching for positions, but they can find online via social networks. And actually, the overwhelming majority of those folks who said they will use social media so that they will use LinkedIn too. So that's certainly why I want to talk about LinkedIn as a great place for your career throughout this webinar. So I want to get into a little bit about Facebook and some quick updates to share with you about what Facebook has been doing that may help for your career. So we're going to do one more pop quiz quickly just about Facebook itself. And nobody's going to pull up that poll here. And this was an interesting statistic I found that I thought was pretty relevant to careers and networking. So the question is, how many other users is the average Facebook user connected to through their friends? So we know now that there's over 1 billion accounts on Facebook, but how many other users is the average Facebook person connected to through friends? So we have a few options here, and we encourage you to take a vote. So looking fairly split across the entire spectrum of numbers here. Possibly some changing of votes at the last minute like we saw last time. Okay, great. So we're going to end this poll now as well. And the majority of you indicated that you thought, by a small majority, indicated that you thought 100,000 people is the average Facebook user connected to through friends. And again, the vote's pretty evenly split throughout the rest of the options. And again, we're pretty close here. 150,000 is the correct answer to that question. According to research that I just saw, about 150,000 users is the average user connected to through their friends on Facebook. So quite a powerful network and possibility to connect with many people through your friends and immediate connections already. So specifically why I wanted to talk about this statistic is because Facebook has introduced something new in the last year, and it's called Graph Search. And this is just a screenshot from the Graph Search page. And what they're telling you about Graph Search is that you can find more of what you're looking for through your friends and already existing connections. So what it is telling you can do is organically search Facebook for people that have similar interests to you. It's talking about finding restaurants in an area that your friends have visited and liked, talking about businesses people have frequented and liked that are in your network. So it's turning Facebook into a little bit of a personalized search engine for you now with this Graph Search. So I want to show you a little bit about how this works and ways that you can use it for possible career benefit. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to move into a live demo of looking at Facebook. So if you give me one moment here, I'm going to pull up my screen. Okay. So I think it just appeared there. I apologize about that slight delay. So what I've done is I'm logged into Facebook, and at the top of the search bar of Facebook, what you can see is that I've typed in the phrase friends of my friends. Okay, so that was just from the home screen of Facebook. I've typed that in. And what you're seeing now are these are every single one of the friends of my friends in this screen. Now, what we're looking at, this is more than 1,000 people. I can refine this search over here by something more specific. And what I like to do is click this See More and open up all of my possible options. Now, let's say I know that I want to work somewhere pretty specific. And let's say that I want to work at, I'm just going to pick a big target here and say Google. So what I'm looking now at are who are my friends of friends who are Google employees. And here are those people that showed up right on my screen. And I can actually find out who are my mutual friends, who are the connections between me and these people that I might be able to reach out to and ask for an introduction, very kindly, to that person who works at Google. So I can do that simply by refining this search and changing the employer if I want to. Now what I could also do, I'm going to click on this See More, and I'm actually going to remove Google. So now I'm back to everyone. All right. What I'm going to do is let's do something a little bit differently. Let's say my undergraduate major was psychology. So I want to know, what do people do with psychology degrees? I'm going to start there. And now what I'll be able to see are the people who are friends of my friends and are or were psychology students. And I can see in their quick headline here what they're doing in terms of employment. Let's say maybe I'm looking at someone who is in New York, New York. Maybe that's where my target is in terms of where I want to end up. I could see who may have an area of study in common with me and who's living in the city where I want to live. And I could see, again, where these people work, who my mutual friend is in contact, that I could start to actually get in touch with them. So we're looking at it right here, this my one mutual friend category. So this graph search now allows me to see quite a bit more information and allows me to possibly tap into some connections, those second degree connections, a friend of a friend who could be helpful to me in my job search. So I just thought this update was quite an interesting one to share. And I want to return back to our presentation here. So give me one. And hopefully you should be seeing the PowerPoint shortly. Oh, we're back to the front end. So I apologize. We're going to move quickly. There we go. Okay. So some suggestions that I give now that we have this opportunity to search for friends of friends are to update your profile on Facebook. First is there's a cover photo here that everyone has access to. We're just looking at Villanova University's Facebook headshot here as an example. But this cover photo, my suggestion is think about using this as a way to display a personal interest of yours that might be professionally friendly. So if someone I know just bought a really nice new car, they're very excited about it, so they have a picture of the back end of their car with their license plate. Someone who likes to travel has a picture of that person in a really nice, beautiful landscape in a foreign country where they traveled to. So something that's a little bit more about you, but a hobby or something that may compel interest from someone. So one of those things might be great as a good cover photo. Of course, the smaller profile picture that exists right here, it would be nice to have a good headshot of you so people can see very quickly who you are and establish a connection with you through that photo. So a nice headshot, I think, unlike a LinkedIn profile, it doesn't have to be completely perfectly professional. You don't need to be wearing a suit, but something friendly and approachable is going to be good. So people who may want to reach out to you would feel that it's a warm invitation that they're sending to someone. There's also places in your profile in Facebook that have been updated or changed, and that might be good now for you to update. So of course, in your work and education section, you want to add in that you've attended Villanova and any other institutions where you've attended, where you've worked, where you went to college, high school. Those things can all be connectors for you with other people potentially. Facebook has also recently added a professional skills section into your profile. This is also new and as a way for you to possibly be found by others who may be searching for someone with a specific skill set. I'd think about the technical skills that you know, as well as some of the soft skills that you know, for people to find you by. You can update your contact information with any information that you would like to be connected to. Of course, if you have a personal website, there is a way for you to connect a website to your Facebook profile, and that might be nice for someone to connect back with you. You can add your LinkedIn profile link if you'd like to as well. It might be good to add your current city. As you saw, I just ran a search there for people who live in New York, but that might be another way that someone could find you too. So those are some of the brief updates. I apologize, I just clicked off that screen that I think might be good to update in your profiles now. And of course, it's up to you how much information you'd want to put in, but these could be great places to display great information about you that can help others find you and connect with you appropriately. So we're going to switch into LinkedIn here and talk about ways that you can communicate and search on LinkedIn as a possible social network. So I want to start with our final quiz for this webinar on LinkedIn. And as Emily pulls that up, I'll just show you what it is. It's how many new users will join LinkedIn by the time we complete this webinar. So LinkedIn has released statistics about how many new users are joining each second, and we calculated how many of them would join in the time that we have on this webinar together. People were very quick on the votes. Excellent. Great. All right. Looks like we've gotten almost everyone's vote here. So let's end that poll. So the answer with the leading votes was 5,400, and second place was 1,300 for all of you. Excellent voting, excellent ideas. And what we will do now is show you the answer. And so, again, this is a smart and with it group. The answer for everyone that voted is 5,400. So that is the number of users who will join this webinar by the time, or who will join LinkedIn by the time this webinar concludes. LinkedIn statistics show that about 2 new users join every second on LinkedIn, so it's very quickly growing. So that's why I said it's 250 million plus as we add more members to that network. So for those of you that are new to LinkedIn or have not joined yet, this is a little bit of how LinkedIn works. Right at the center of the LinkedIn world is you as you make your account, which it's great. Who doesn't love to be the center of the universe at times? Immediately around you are your friends, and on LinkedIn, those people would be called your connections. It's the equivalent to friends on Facebook. And those would be your first degree connections according to LinkedIn, the people directly connected to you. And the second circle are your friends' friends. So those would be your second degree connections on LinkedIn. You have a person in between you and that individual who you both know that could be an introduction source for you. And then the final circle are your friends, friends, friends. I always mix that up a little bit sometimes saying it, so I'm glad I got it right. But that's your third degree connections. So they are 2 steps away from you. And there's 2 mutual people that you need to get in touch with to get that introduction. So LinkedIn shows you this expansion of your network. And what's great about this is oftentimes the connections of your connections can be very helpful to you, and LinkedIn makes that very easy to see. So that graph search we conducted on Facebook is very similar to the way LinkedIn would work in showing you those friends of friends. So what I want to do quickly is get into another live demo, and this time show you a profile of someone actually that we know right now. And that profile is going to be Emily, our webinar moderator. So I want to show you this and run down some of the things that have gone into Emily's profile that I think are good and are things that you can exercise in your own profiles too. So what we're seeing at the top here is a nice headshot of Emily right here. You want to have a nice professional looking photo of you. LinkedIn's research shows that profiles with photos are 7 times more likely to be viewed and clicked on when they appear in search results. And I think that's just because it's human nature to want to know there's a human being on the other end of what you're clicking. I've heard it called the dreaded silhouette, which is what appears if there is no photo in that area. Recruiters call it that, professionals call it that, because they're just not sure if there's a human being there. So having a headshot or a nice picture of you is usually very good there. Emily's name is right here at the top. Very good. LinkedIn immediately will populate that as soon as you type it in. And then the words below your name are what are called your headline on LinkedIn. So this is the words that describe you. Oftentimes this headline will default and be the first position or most recent position that you list in the experience section of your profile. But you can also edit this to be anything that you want it to be to describe yourself. I think this is very important real estate on a LinkedIn profile. In terms of LinkedIn searches, this is a keyword and key phrase hotspot, this headline. So you want to make sure that there are words and phrases associated with the things that you want to do in your career or that you're hoping to do in your career, or even your industry or field that you're in or aspiring to get into in here. So I've seen Villanova alumni with a passion for sustainable engineering. Those types of words and phrases are going to get people to find you in search results and as well be able to categorize the things that you're hoping to do right there in your headline. Below your headline are the opportunities to list the location geographically where you are and your industry or field. My tip for both of these is always consider the location you want to end up in and the industry that you want to end up in. So to try to make that future oriented, and that way when people are doing searches by specific locations or by specific industries, your profile could come up there. I'm going to click on Emily's contact info briefly because this link right here that we're going to see in her contact info is called her public profile URL. Okay, so when it pops up here, making sure that it does in the screen, it usually appears right below your photo. It looks like it's not popping up, so I apologize. But it's usually the link. Oh, it just did. Great. So this is that link right here next to the word LinkedIn. And this is Emily's public profile URL. It's a link that you can send to anyone, and they can access whatever information you want to have public about you via your LinkedIn profile. You can actually customize this to be something specific and uniquely you. You can see there's quite a few numbers at the end of this, but you could actually make this shorter. So Emily could do linkedin.com/in/Emily Powerosnik, and it would just be her first and last name together. I've seen people put that URL in the email signatures for their email addresses and in their resumes at the top of the page, on business cards. So it's a way for people to very quickly be able to get to your profile and connect with you. So certainly a way for you to add to your personal brand by putting your name there and make it easy for others to get in touch. If we scroll down, some other great things about Emily's profile are we get to this background section and experience. I think this experience section is, of course, great to include paid work experience, but if there are volunteer positions that you've had or organizations, professional organizations you are a part of and very active in, I think those things can also land in your experience section as well. So what Emily's done is, of course, typed in her titles. This is the organization. Here are the dates and the location, looking very similar to how a resume would look. Then you can describe your work at these organizations in these positions. I've seen people write this in first person. I've seen them write it in paragraph form. I've seen them do it in bulleted form, as Emily has done here. I think all of those are great. The most important thing to consider is, again, the words and phrases that you would want to be found for or known for. Because when people do searches for those words, the more likely, or the more times you have them in your profile, the more likely you're going to be to show up in those search results. So important to consider the words and phrases that you're using to describe yourself. Emily's also done something great by including what LinkedIn would call rich media into her profile. So we're seeing this with this Nova Network link here. And if we scroll down just a little bit, the McCarter Theater down here. So what you're now able to do is actually link to websites or upload files or documents associated with the work that you've done, so you can actually demonstrate it or show it to an employer or a person searching your profile. So these are actually live links, and if we clicked those, we'd be directed to those pages. And these are things associated with Emily's work or things that she's worked on. I've seen people upload PowerPoint presentations that they've done to a SlideShare website and then link to those. I've seen documents that indicate great work that someone's done uploaded here. I've seen articles that people have written or been quoted in linked into here. And this is all great to demonstrate your expertise beyond just explaining it in your descriptions that you write yourself. We'll scroll down here and we get to an additional optional section, or a few actually additional optional sections of Emily's LinkedIn profile. One is called Volunteer Experience and Causes, and the other one is called Publications. So what we're going to see as we scroll down here are Emily's experience and involvement in volunteer activities and things that she's been a part of publishing. And you can add these sections through the Edit Profile link at the top of LinkedIn. So if you were to roll over the top screen of LinkedIn, this profile button appears. You roll over that and you click on Edit, and that's how you can actually edit your profile, and then it'll give you some suggestions of sections you can add. These are some of them. So I think it's great to add those in. LinkedIn's research also shows that employers really love to see that volunteer experience, and many times they will consider that as work experience, and especially if it's relevant to the job that you're going for. So be sure to include all those things that you're a part of, even outside of work. There's a project section you can add specific to any work that you've done in an organization or in school. Emily's added the flash mob from Villanova, and I encourage you to click on the link that appears right here. If you land on her profile, it's a fun video to watch. You can actually link to a YouTube video here or any other document you'd like on the web. Of course, then we have the education section of your profile. You're going to list the universities that you've attended, your high school, certainly if you want to. But this is all great, and especially because it'll help you appear in search results for your specific institutions. And of course, we all know Villanova has a great name that many people are searching for. So great to have that in there too. As we scroll down, we see one more optional section of a profile, and that's right under her education, called courses. My suggestion here is certainly to list courses, especially if you're actively in school now or in a graduate program. And I would specifically say mention the courses that are most relevant to the jobs and employers that you seek, not necessarily to list every course that you've taken. So pick some or several that are really relevant, and that's going to help you be looked at positively by employers and recruiters. Moving underneath that, we have the skills and expertise section. This is an often discussed section of LinkedIn profiles because what's happening now is you can list your skills and expertise, as Emily has done, and then what you see are people endorsing her skills and expertise. So that's what all these numbers are next to those skills, and all these pictures are on the right-hand side of that. So she was endorsed for theater 7 times by the 7 people that we see on the right-hand side there. My suggestion for this section is really to take control of it. Sometimes people have been endorsed for random skills or endorsed by people who they're thinking, how does that person know I have that skill? LinkedIn is suggesting many people endorse others as they land on their profiles for skills maybe that they see from someone's profile they've been involved with. So LinkedIn is going to suggest things for people to endorse for you. So I would say the more you add your own skills in here and the things you want to be endorsed for, then LinkedIn will pull those as recommendations for someone to endorse you for. So you want to take control of this, add in the skills relevant to you, and then allow people to endorse you for those things. At least 10, as you can see, 10 appear in this vertical rank system, and then there's more down below where Emily also knows about near the bottom. Okay, so you want to pick at least 10, and these can be technical skills, they can be soft skills, they can be communication skills. These can really vary, but try to think of the ones most closely aligned with your field and your goals. That's going to help you most. We're going to scroll down here. We see Emily's connections. We also see the way Emily is active on LinkedIn through her membership in groups and through the news, influencers, and companies and schools that she is following, which is great. The more you start following some news, influencers, and companies, the better and richer your home feed is going to be with information and resources that could be relevant to you in your career. So I strongly advise following news relevant to your field, following influencers relevant to you. She's following Conan O'Brien, who's had a very recent media blitz about taking over LinkedIn. If you haven't checked it out, it's quite funny. So I think it's interesting to do, and he's writing some funny things on there. But there are influencers from all different fields and organizations writing. There's news on lots of different types of industries. As I said, over 3 million companies that you could follow. So lots of information being posted by people that could be relevant to you and your career. And of course, we recommend joining LinkedIn groups, those associated with Villanova, but also those associated with any of the affiliations and organizations you're a part of in real life, as well as groups related to your field and industry. There are millions of groups and lots of people discussing things in there that could be valuable to you and could be a resource for you. So thank you so much, Emily, for letting us look at your profile here. I'm going to go back to our presentation. So about searching some information on LinkedIn. Okay, so I mentioned those 3 million plus company pages that exist. And I want to run through a little bit about how those work and what they look like. And I've taken some screenshots here so we can look at these together quickly and easily. So what I've done in the top box of LinkedIn is searched for the company Accenture. And we see their company page here. And many company pages look similar to this and have a similar layout. Accenture has, of course, branded it appropriately for things relevant to them, using their imagery, their typeface, so it looks very Accenture. Now, you can do a lot on these company pages and get a lot of information here. Of course, in the upper right-hand corner, there's that yellow box to follow the company. That would help you get updates in real time from them. I think that following a company on LinkedIn or even following them on something like Twitter or liking them on Facebook, anywhere that you are, is a great practice because it starts to inform you about things happening quickly and up to date at the organization. So it may take some time for things to roll out on their website or for them to get a press release going about it, but oftentimes things can happen and move quickly via a source of social media where the company is. So this can be great information for you to go into an interview or a networking conversation with someone. But one of the most important boxes, I think, or areas of a company page is this how you're connected area. This is how you actually learn about who may be a good connection or contact for you. So this is a screenshot I took from when I was logged into my account. And what you can see here is that I do not have any first-degree connections at Accenture. I don't know anyone who's working there. But I do have 547 second-degree connections, which is a lot of people. And what I can do actually is if I click that See All button in the bottom right of that box, I'll be taken to a page where I will see all of those people. And now I've grayed out some of their names and information here for their sake, but you can see here's a second-degree connection, and I can see who our shared connection is, and that's a contact that I know, a friend of mine from my undergraduate years, and I could reach out to that person and ask for an introduction to this individual at Accenture to learn more about what it's like to work there. My suggestion is when you're asking for an introduction to someone, of course you want to use anytime you've had a conversation with them in the past or something relevant to warm up that contact. In this case, I do know this person pretty well, so it would be easy for me to reach out and ask for an introduction kindly. Be sure to thank the person for any help they might be willing to provide and offer your help in return, anything that you could do to return the favor. That often helps that person feel valued and important as they're helping you make that connection to their contact. So we're just highlighting that right here. That's my shared connection. So back on the company page itself, if you click on this Careers tab right under the word Accenture, what you'll be taken to then is a page where you can actually see all about what it's like to work at Accenture, and even more importantly, the jobs that are posted by Accenture on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a very robust job search capability, and a lot of organizations are on there posting their positions. A lot of times when organizations post a job, you can also actually see who specifically is the recruiter or person that posted it, which may be a great way for you to reach out to that person and get in touch about opportunities. So through the company page, you can actually see the jobs that are listed with that organization too. And finally, I want to mention one more thing about a company page. If you click on this Insights area on the right-hand side, I think this is a really neat feature of LinkedIn. What you'll be shown on that next page is a bunch of information about the company, but specifically an area called People Also Viewed. And I think what's important about this is you can start to do some research on who are some other organizations doing similar things to this company. So if you're really dead set on one organization, having a hard time getting in the door there, maybe you want to look at other organizations who are maybe doing some similar things, and you know this because other people are viewing these other companies at the same time that they're viewing Accenture. So this can give you some pretty interesting intel or help you build out a list of target companies or people you may want to contact as well. So I want to take you in one last time to LinkedIn before we conclude and show you a live demo of the alumni tool. And this is where you can start to see all those folks who are Villanova alums. And where they work. And this is how we got to that number of 75,000 plus Villanova students and alumni who are on LinkedIn. So how you can get to here is you simply type in linkedin.com/alumni into your browser. Or if you roll over the network tab and click on Find Alumni, which is the third option under that network tab, you will be able to see this tool just like I'm seeing it now. This is not I don't know a paid account, so you can access this yourself anytime. Now, what I've done is I've changed the range of attended from 1900 to 2020. This is as far back as you can go and as far forward as you could go. And I'm including people with no dates. And this is showing me the 78,000 plus Villanovans on LinkedIn according to what they've reported. in their education section on their profiles. And what I could do is do a whole bunch of searches to find people that could be helpful in. So there's a section for where they live, a section for where they work, a section for what they do. So this would be the function or industry that that person is in. If I click on this gray arrow, I'll actually be shown a whole new set of resources in the alumni tool that will show me what these people studied, what their major was, some of their skills. So this could be a great way for you to start thinking about what skills could be good for you to put in your profile and how you're connected to each of these individuals. So kind of like we did with the graph search on Facebook, I want to go through and say, maybe I want to work for, I just expanded this list here. Maybe I'm really interested in working at Comcast. So I'm going to click on Comcast, and now the data is automatically resorted for me to show me just the 196 students and alumni found who have worked or currently work at Comcast in some function. And here they are right here. Maybe I'm very interested in working at Comcast only in Philadelphia. So I'm going to click on Philadelphia. Obviously, a very large office in Philadelphia, so I'm going to see a lot of those people here too. Let's specifically say I want to work in human resources at Comcast in Philadelphia. Now I'm going to see the 23 students and alumni who work in that function or have worked in that function at Comcast. And these could be some connections for me to reach out to get to know better. What I'm going to do just briefly here is actually clear these filters because I want to show you other ways you could think about searching this. I'm going to go over to the what they study category, and let's say I want to make connections with people. I'm just going to go back to psychology for the purpose of example and say, all right, here's psychology majors. Here are the top skills of psychology majors from Villanova. These are maybe some skills I want to think about developing, or maybe I do have these skills and I can actually add those into my profile somewhere. You could do this with any major to just start getting a good list of what might make sense to build. I could also say, all right, if I'm a recent grad or I'm thinking about changing careers, I can think about, well, what are some places that people with psychology majors work? What are some functions that they do? So I can start to explore the connectivity of my major to other career paths. And again, looking down at the people who are in those fields doing that work, here they are. And now if I wanted to maybe get in touch with some of those folks, I'd certainly think about using the Nova Network, the alumni system that the university keeps. Certainly many of these people are going to be there. Perhaps seeing them at an event on campus would be great. I could also click on the Connect button that's affiliated with all of these people under their specific picture or under their profile. So if I were to click on that button, what would be shown to me is an opportunity to actually connect or send an invitation to an individual to join my LinkedIn network. This opportunity right here to add a personal message, I think this is one of the most important things that you can do on LinkedIn. Unlike other social networks, the culture of LinkedIn very much is professional and people like that extra touch. So it's critical to add a very brief message explaining why you want to connect with the person and what specifically was interesting about that individual to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back to the PowerPoint briefly and show you some of my time for effective connection messages for reaching out to folks on LinkedIn. I apologize. We went back to the start of the slide deck again. So I'm just going to quickly shift through to the last slide. So here are my 4 things really that should go in an effective connection request message to someone else. The first is introduce yourself and explain the connection. In the case of all of those alumni connections there, I think it'd be great to say you're a Villanovan too. You want to express some kind of interest in the person's background. So highlight that they have been successful in the field that you want to be in, or that they've had an interesting career and made a few changes or shifts that you're also thinking about. Then specifically make your ask of the individual. So ask that person for resources or advice or a time to talk. I think it's important to ask for advice and not necessarily a job right away. So think about making an ask that would be easy for the person to say yes to or easy for that person to offer. And then, of course, say thank you at the end. The thank you is just a nice way to sign off and show the person you're appreciative of their time. So these are some things I consider putting into a connection message when you send that to someone via LinkedIn. And so those are the things we wanted to show you today and talk with you about regarding Facebook and LinkedIn, some of the updates to Facebook, some of the ways you can be searching LinkedIn and using LinkedIn, communicating things effectively in your profile, connecting with Villanovans or others who may be helpful for you in your career paths. So at this time, if you have any questions about any of the stuff we looked over today or anything relevant to Facebook or LinkedIn, I'd be happy to answer them. You can feel free to type them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, and certainly we can have a discussion about it. And thank you again for your time. Someone said, Kevin Only, this was great. Thank you for presenting. Thank you very much for joining us. Happy to share this information. I did want to make a note, and I noticed someone else is typing, so keep going, everybody. But I did want to make a note that we have recorded this webinar, so we should be able to make it available to you at another time. You can rewatch some things that were presented here, see how I navigated things. So hopefully, if things moved a little quickly or you're writing things down, you have a chance to review this stuff one more time. So thank you for the compliment, and certainly we hope to be able to keep sharing information like this. Thank you, Tess. Appreciate your compliment as well. Liz asks, what is the best method for determining whether or not you should accept a request on LinkedIn? If you didn't receive a personal message in the connection request, what is a good standard to follow? Liz, excellent question. I very much think this is an important thing to talk about, so thank you for bringing it up. My suggestion as people are starting to join LinkedIn is to first begin with the people that you know and trust who have reached out to you on LinkedIn. This is a personal decision, but I think what's most important is having those people you know well. As I showed you in the example of a company page, if that person in between me and that connection at Accenture was not someone I knew well or trusted or felt comfortable reaching out to, that would quite frankly be a little bit of a bummer for me, since I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable requesting an introduction through a friend and someone I knew. So it's important to definitely begin with the people that you know and trust. I think it's certainly okay to accept connection requests from fellow professionals or recruiters or people you meet at events and you're getting to know. For many people, they use LinkedIn as sort of a virtual Rolodex of sorts, as a way to keep in touch with contacts that they're knowing pretty well. So some of it depends on you and how you want to network or be interacting with people on LinkedIn. If you don't receive a personal message in the connection request and you are concerned or curious or aren't sure to accept that, whether or not to accept that person into your network, what you can do is reply to that person before you accept or deny them. So what you would actually do, you know what, I'm going to try to share my screen with you so you can see this. So I think this is an important thing to show. So Just giving it a second to load here. So what you're about to see in just a second is an inbox of mine from some people who have requested to connect with me, and I still have to respond to these. So here's Russ. Russ has requested to connect with me. Russ did not share a personal message, which isn't the end all be all. But what I can do actually right next to this accept button is click that down arrow and reply, and don't accept yet. So I have the option to write back to Russ, which in this case I definitely will, I plan on doing, and ask Russ maybe what brought him to my profile, or what was interesting, or what sorts of things he thinks we could connect on. So I think that's a really important thing, maybe to actually reply without accepting. Not accept that request at that time if you're feeling uncomfortable about it. So there are some options there. If you feel comfortable connecting with them on another social network, you could suggest that as well. So those are some options there, but certainly a great question there. Thank you, Liz. We'll just take a moment in case there are any other questions from anyone. Okay. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us. On behalf of the Alumni Association and the Career Center and everyone at Villanova, we are really glad to have you with us today, and we look forward to continuing the connection with you. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.